Hey everyone, my name is Razzy and welcome to part 2 of my Oxenfree discussion. There will be no significant story spoilers in these videos. In the last part, I talked more about Oxenfree's story, its characters, its art style, its music, and a bit about its gameplay. I'd suggest watching that first video if you haven't already, because certain topics from there may transfer over to this video and vice versa. But let's talk about how the game handles dialogue, because obviously walking isn't actually the core mechanic in Oxenfree, and I don't think fiddling with your radio is either. Instead, walking is just something that you do while you interact with the other characters, even if I felt occasionally it was the other way around. And Oxenfree does a really interesting job at dialogue. It could have one of the most natural conversation systems I've experienced in a game. Here is why. Like Firewatch, you're not locked in place as you talk to people, and you can interact with objects while you do so. And there is a limit for how long you have to say something. So you can also obviously ignore people if you'd like. I hate it when games give you unlimited time to pick what you want to say next. And I know it's necessary sometimes, but honestly it just makes for horribly immersion-breaking conversation for myself personally. I instantly realize I'm talking to a robot, an information dispenser, that also lets me input the same command over and over to hear it yap the same lines again and again, but yeah, you get the idea. I thought Firewatch's conversation system was great because it rejected a lot of the stuff you see in other games that stress branching dialogue options. But you would pick a thing to say during the time limit and have to wait for Delilah to finish talking before Henry could deliver the lines. In Oxenfree, occasionally you'll pick an option and blurt it out instantly.
I'm friends with Nona and I'm downgrading Ren to like a creepy neighbor. And you I just met.
Yeah,
sorry. I accept your apology.
And afterwards, if it's important information, the other characters will use small phrases and words like anyway to return to the topic they were on before, and in most cases it will be from the point where you interrupted them. And this whole interruption thing is the main thing differentiating the dialogue system in this game from other games like Firewatch, though there are some problems with it. Sometimes I just felt a bit annoyed when I accidentally interrupted someone. And I do mean by accident. Not only because I'm not used to it, but also because you never really know when you're going to butt in or not, and they don't always return to what they were saying before. You can also interrupt Alex if you interact with something while she's talking about something important. Although there aren't a lot of words in each bubble, they have a tendency to begin fading away almost as soon as they appear. As a result, you often have to select something without having time to read all the other options, or you'll be forced to just let it slide. It makes sense not to be able to say things you want to in a conversation just because of how the flow of it changes, but I don't think that excuses the problem. So not only are you encouraged to choose something quickly without concern for whether or not you're butting in, but you also don't really know if what you're picking is what you really wanted to say. In addition, all this focus on reading everything in such a short period of time means you're less likely to be listening to the other characters as you do so. I think a way of fixing these problems might be to find a better method for symbolizing how much time the player has left to reply, along with maybe notifying them as to whether or not they're going to interrupt someone. I know it's a cliche, but perhaps a depleting bar would be better than the fading bubbles. At least you could see the options a bit longer, and interacting with them wouldn't be as frantic. But I guess the idea of impulsively saying things, largely by accident, makes a lot of sense in a story about a bunch of somewhat rebellious teens who either get stimulated and provoked easily or don't really care for manners around their friends and enemies. This whole thing is kind of an impulsive and very emotional response system, and it also helps make things uncomfortable and awkward too. I suppose the fading effect represents the loss of the thought as it pops into your mind, and the desperation to say it before that happens. Anyway, another problem is that I didn't always feel like an option that I picked was delivered in the manner that I thought it would be. Either there are just too few words in each bubble, or I didn't properly connect with or understand the main character and how she would conduct herself.
See?
That'll do, Pig. That'll do.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
I will say that Oxenfree does a pretty good job of hiding branching story points, as well as changes in character relationships. And there are some pretty specific details provided to you upon completion. The game does notify you when you've done something that's had an impact on someone else, but it does so very subtly. It's just a thought cloud bubble thingy with a picture of a character's face inside, so you don't always know if what you said or did impressed or upset them. It doesn't feel like a binary system. So I think it's pretty clear that Oxenfree does some really interesting stuff with its dialogue, even if it needs a bit of fine-tuning here and there. And although this specific system works particularly well in this story with these characters, I think that other developers could adopt it and maybe make some changes here and there and use it in their games to allow for some more natural conversations. It's definitely the aspect of Oxenfree that I personally find the most compelling and which I think other developers can learn from. Before I wrap up, let me mention a couple nitpicks and cool details I noticed. I like how characters will walk up to you during some conversations and stop right in front of where you're standing. Like I said, nothing's locked in place and you can walk away, but it does go a long way to make talking more intimate. I love the tiny, differently colored speech bubbles that pop up above the other characters' heads when they're conversing. It helps you get an idea of who is talking at the start of the game, so you can associate the voice with the character models. The way the controller is set out to handle conversations and interaction with objects is really comfortable and easy. I love the neon-y graphic stuff too, which kinda ties into what I said about the distortion effects earlier. But what I don't love is the few frame rate dips and temporary freezes I experienced on PS4. This is an extreme nitpick, but I also don't like how the character animations don't change too noticeably when they're scared, if at all. There is quite a bit of variation and specific situational movements, which is awesome. It does go the extra mile in that regard. But instantly things are less spooky when the character body language is the same or similar to when they are comfortable and happy. Though I can't be too specific, I think the way that Oxenfree goes about doing multiplayer is actually really cool. It's very unusual and innovative, no matter how small and insignificant it is. There's no proper multiplayer mode in this game, so don't go into it expecting anything like that. Lastly, apparently playing Oxenfree a second time on the same save gives you more dialogue options and such, which I'm really keen to check out. As you can tell, I'm still not entirely certain about this game. I'm probably gonna have to play through it a couple more times to properly wrap my head around it. Like I said, I felt a bit underwhelmed after my first playthrough, but when it comes to dissecting any game by myself and trying to understand what went wrong or right, things can become very messy very fast, and I can easily contradict myself. And that's where you guys come in. Let me know what you thought of Oxenfree and what I had to say about it. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed. I think I'm gonna move out now. But before I do so, I just wanted to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed these videos. I hope you enjoy your day, and hopefully I will see you all in the next one.